Welcome to Making It with Terry Woolman, the show that explores the secrets, successes, and strategies for making it in the music biz. And now, here's your host, Terry Woolman.
I'm your host, Terry Woolman. My guest today is artist, singer, songwriter, actor, Rebecca Jade. I appreciate you joining us every week, and I'd like to share my intention that inspires this podcast. Time passes quickly, and I've learned that we should do what's in our hearts and do it well without apologies or excuses. I encourage you to create your own life and art in your own unique way and express your artistry with joy and abandon. Be willing to work uncompromisingly for what you believe in. Success will have a better chance of finding you if you live your life with integrity, focus, and passion. Be selfish with your discipline and selfless in your performance. And don't forget to have fun along the way. If you're joining us in our live audience today, and I see there's some really cool people in the audience today with us, some fellow artists, so welcome. We'll be inviting questions and comments during the show. So make it count and simply request an invite to speak. And either myself or my moderator, Dr. Lisa, will bring you on stage to join the conversation. So I want to start by telling you about our guest. Rebecca Jade has been singing as long as she can remember. Growing up in a musical home, she was exposed to an extensive variety of artists, genres, and styles from her mother, who is also a vocalist. Surrounded by such great influences, it seems a natural progression that she would follow in her mom's footsteps to become an accomplished singer-songwriter. Rebecca's musical versatility and winning attitude has opened the door for her to perform with some of the world's greatest musicians. She's been touring with the queen of percussion, our friend Sheila E, since 2017, and her television appearances include singing on the Emmy-nominated Let's Go Crazy, the Grammy Salute to Prince, and the 2020 Academy Awards with Sir Elton John. Her live performances include opening for artists Will Downing, Boney James, El DeBarge, and Jeffrey Osborne, and also performing as a featured guest artist on the Dave Koz cruises since 2016, where we first met as fellow performers. Her new single, Show Me, is currently on the radio and moving up the Billboard Smooth Jazz Network and smoothjazz.com radio charts weekly. So we're going to be talking about that new single and also a lot of other things. Yeah, it's really exciting. So let's get started. Rebecca Jade, welcome to Making It.
Thank you so much. Hi, Terry.
Hi, Rebecca. Great to see you.
Great to see you. Thank you so much for having me.
My pleasure. It's the perfect time to be talking to you because of everything that's going on with you. I'm really excited for you. I'm really proud of you. And I really get a kick out of being on the charts with you at the same time with both of our singles kind of really taking off right now. So congratulations to you. Yeah.
Thank you. And congratulations to you too. Love that we're on this journey together. It's awesome.
Exactly. we sure are. The new single, which we'll talk about in a moment, I want to start with a few other things, but it's called Show Me.
Sure.
You can find it on Spotify, and we'll be putting the link up. And letting everybody know where to find it. But it's a really cool song, and I even want to talk about the lyrics. We're going to get into that as well. But let me start by asking you, who came up with the name Lady Rebecca Jade? Because that's your handle for your IG and Facebook, and I've seen that before. What's the backstory?
Yes. Okay. Oh, thanks for asking. That's a fun one. Well, I grew up listening. Jazz is my first musical love. I grew up listening to, with my mom being a jazz singer. I was exposed to Billie Holiday. You see where I'm going with this? Billie Holiday, a lot of Nat King Cole, Ella Fitzgerald. I grew up listening to a lot of like the jazz greats and a lot of other styles too. But jazz, I think, was my first draw. And Billie Holiday was my favorite artist. I was just drawn to, there was something that just about how her voice emotes emotion. And I didn't even fully understand music and jazz. I just knew there was something about the texture, the timbre in her voice. So I would say that, so then later on, and now we're in the social media world, and I was trying to find a name that, Rebecca Jade is my real first and middle name. But I was trying to find a handle that I could cross over. I couldn't just use Rebecca Jade. That was already taken. And I was like, okay, well, Miss Rebecca Jade, no, some of those were taken. So I tried Lady, and I was able to snag that for all my social media. And I just attribute that also to just my my ultimate respect for Lady Day.
Yeah.
Who she, Billie Holiday was known as Lady Day. So it's more of an homage to her as well.
Thanks for telling me. That's a great story. And it suits you. It really suits you because there's an elegance about you as well. And in addition, I can hear her influences when I hear you sing, just because of your honesty and how you sing, and
Thank
how
you.
you approach every song with, you put yourself in it, but you put your heart into it and your spirit into it.
Thank you. That means a lot.
Yeah, you're welcome. And when we first met, I think we actually met like getting on the ship together or something. It was even before we were all performing.
Right.
I had a guitar slung over and you were hanging with your band and we were all just kind of helping each other on board. But I instantly liked you. I was drawn to you. I felt comfortable and I felt like we could easily and did very easily and quickly become friends.
Yeah.
And so, and then of course, when I heard you sing and got to share the stage with you and all that, that cemented the deal for me.
Right. Yeah. Well, likewise, absolutely. It's kindred spirits.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely.
So I want to start with a little bit of backstory on you, and then we'll get into the music and the single. And by the way, hi, Lisa. Dr. Lisa's with us for the beginning part of the show.
Hi.
Your dear friend.
That's my sister. I love her.
That's right. So, Rebecca, you graduated from UC Berkeley on a full basketball scholarship with a degree in theater and performance studies. And then you earned an MBA in marketing from the University of Phoenix. And you also did some advanced musical studies, jazz theory and classical voice at Grossmont College. So you have a diverse background. You're highly educated, but I love that you're not just single-minded, that you are broader in what you do. Let's talk about your full scholarship and playing towards playing Division I basketball at UC Berkeley, and also the car accident that really just changed the trajectory of your life.
Yeah.
But I want to start with that.
Yeah, sure. So I'd like to say I still think I'm somewhat of an athlete these days, but growing up, I really had two separate lives. Very much an athlete, very much in the arts, and I started playing basketball and I fell in love. I played a bunch of other sports, but once I started playing basketball, I fell in love with basketball. And I never, even though I grew up in a musical home, there was a point where I thought I maybe would, but you have to think of a young girl thinking my idea of doing music as a career is to be a superstar. That's all I knew. You're either Whitney Houston or you're nothing. There's no in between. So I remember as I was kind of growing up that I thought that was just too far fetched. I wanted that dream, but then I was, it didn't. I thought it was too big. And then, but sports was also going on at the very same time. So. Once I started playing basketball and I fell in love with the sport, I really dedicated a lot of my time to that. And I just was a natural athlete. I was one of those kids that I didn't pick. I never touched a basketball until I started high school, and then I ended up being moved up to varsity that same year, and I just was attracted. I just clinged to basketball pretty quickly, and so I got through high school. I needed to take a year off, and because I was still kind of searching myself, and I would consider myself a late bloomer as well, and I needed time off, and then I went to. I took a year off, and then I went into a community college, and I got my mind together. I really took basketball even more seriously. And that's when I knew, it actually was in high school that I knew that I wanted to play Division I basketball. There was, to me, was nothing.
So can I interrupt? Because I want to ask
Please.
you a question. So, in singing, you were saying it's like you're either like a superstar or you're nothing. Did you feel the same way?
For a kid.
Of course. No, that makes sense. But did you feel the same way in basketball? Like you're NBA or you're
Sort
not a good
of,
athlete?
yeah. Well, I
Or
come from
nothing?
the era the WNBA wasn't even out
Right.
yet.
Right.
So I for us, for women, our only option was to play overseas at the time. Which would have been an amazing experience. But yeah, when I was in high school, there's a thing I was learning along the way. I was still didn't, I was kind of learning the ropes of collegiate sports and what that entails. But I learned that Division I mean, I had a coach but my assistant coach, Carlos Moss, I love him. He really was a pivotal part in this athletic young child that I was, because he helped instill in me that, like, no, you're good enough to play like Division I. Just so people have an understanding, like it's Division I is. It sounds weird to say, but it's kind of a ranking, and if you're in Division I, it's a higher level of athletics. Then there's Division II, the Division III, and then there's NAIA, which I forget what that stands for, but there's 4 like divisions within college sports. Division I being technically the best, and so I just knew that's with my coach. Really instilled in me. It's like, you're good enough to play at a Division I level, and so he fed that to me, and I believed him, and I was so proud of myself to earn this full scholarship. I mean, that was a pretty big deal at the time, especially being raised by a single mother at the time as well. So it was a big deal, for us. And so here's what's a trip. So I had a boyfriend at the time. I was playing, I had finished my junior college, because remind you all that. So I graduated high school, I took a year off, and then I played 2 years at a junior college. And you can go, you can get a scholarship from high school or from community college. So I played 2 years at community college, and we did really, really well. I was being scouted by colleges. I had a bunch of different offers, and I decided to sign my letter of intent with UC Berkeley, which is also known as Cal, and signed my letter of intent. It was this joyous occasion. And 2 weeks later, 2 weeks after I signed my letter of intent, I was at my boyfriend's house. We walked to the store. We had his dog. It was like 12:30 at night. It was really late, so he lived like a kind of a quiet neighborhood. So we didn't even have the dog on a leash. We did it all the time. We just walked the dog. He was like, you go in the store, and when you come out, you just, you hold the dog. I'll go get the things I want. And, so it was that kind of thing. No big deal. I go in the store, I get the things I need. I come back out, and I see him, and I walk over to him, and he's sitting kind of like, there was nobody there. It was like an empty parking lot. Maybe it was one car. And he was sitting under like like a concrete, like a light, that the concrete base that holds a light up,
Sure.
He was sitting on the curb in front of a light, like there. So I just went to where he was, swapped out. He went and got went in the store. I sat there with the dog. So I'm sitting in the same space he was. Not even 30 seconds, 20 seconds later. Like, I remember sitting, I'm holding the dog by the collar, and I had a big jug of water and, I think ice cream in my hand. and I
That's
kid
a complete
you not,
protein,
Terry.
right?
Hey, look, that's right.
Right.
I kid you not. I really think, had I not been an athlete, I would have been in a worse situation, because I had the dog's collar. I'm looking down at him, and I see something kind of move in the peripheral of my vision. And by the time I look up, there is the back of a minivan is coming at me. And I was like, oh my! I had only enough time to let go of the dog, and the van is still moving at me. So at this point, it's probably like less than 5 feet away from me. And it's not, next to me is a bunch of parking spaces. The other side over here is the entrance exit to leave the parking lot. So of all the places, this van is aiming right at me. And so all I could do is slide back on my hands and knees. My back hits the concrete cylinder that's holding up this light. So there's about, from where I was sitting, there was about 6 feet. I went back to it. There's like a good maybe 5 feet from where I was sitting to the concrete thing. So I slid all the way back, and I didn't have time to go left or right. It was like, it was too close to me. So I think, everything moves in slow motion when you replay everything. But there was enough room to where I think in my head, I thought that they would like hit the curb and stop.
Right.
But the back wheel, left wheel, pops up and is still moving. And I'm now seeing this bumper of this van coming at my chest. Because mind you, I'm just sliding back on my hands and feet. And the bumper is aiming for my chest area. And at the last second, all I could do was like slide to hopefully miss this bumper. I could go nowhere else but like lay down. So I laid down on my left hand side, where basically my head is right behind the back left tire, and it's kind of popping out from the side. And I guess I'm still trying to replay it. I don't know how it happened, but in my attempt to slide down, my legs were up. They kind of just momentum wise, I slid down and my knees came up, and the bumper came and pinned my legs between the bumper and that concrete post. Yeah. So here I am sitting underneath this van, and it was moving. And so it just kind of bumped and stopped. And I'm banging on the side of this van saying, pull off of me, pull off of me. And now, mind you, I didn't think anybody was there. I mean, there was like I kind of remember maybe a couple people in the store. It was a 7-Eleven. It was like a gas station on the other side of the parking lot. So there was probably like a car over there, maybe. That I recall. I didn't observe anyone.
Right, but it's still late at night.
It's late at night. I just, you maybe see 1 or 2 people. By the time I was making enough of a fuss for them to pull off of me, there were like 10 people surrounding me. Like they were like, they came to me and they were just like, they were making sure the van didn't go anywhere. And, so the van did pull off and then they stopped. And then, so come to find out, the person that backed into me was a 19-year-old designated driver who was under the influence. And so she was driving. She was supposed to be the designated driver for like 3 other people who were of age, who were drinking, but she was drinking too. So she was inebriated when she hit me. And so that happened 2 weeks after. Now, here's the blessing in this whole thing. First of all, if I didn't move, that van would have smashed me. It would have
Blessing number one.
It would have run me over.
You lived.
Blessing number one. Yeah. And had I, it could have been worse. And then second blessing is that I had already signed my letter of intent. So because I had just signed my letter of intent, they had to honor my scholarship. So I was able to still go. Now they didn't. Yay! I'll take that applause. But they had to honor my scholarship, and I would say that and my teammates could attest to this. The whole situation, my coach didn't like that idea. She had to honor it, but she made it a hell for me, because I'd taken up a scholarship space. One of the spots. So instead of like being like, okay, hey, you're one of our players. We want to get you healthy.
Right. You were part of our team.
I'm part of your team. I didn't feel that at all. So, she really, made it a little difficult, but my mom.
She showed you who she was.
She did, unfortunately. Yeah. And but luckily my mom was there. I couldn't tell you how, like that, her support through that time, because that was one of the really trying times in my life that I was like, it was one of those like could make or break you. She had made 5 other players quit. And I was like, as tough as she was on me, and not in a good way, she helped me really realize that, this person is not going to take away my scholarship. I earned this scholarship. So nobody's going to take away this degree that I have from UC Berkeley, the #1 public school in the nation, like that was not going to happen. So yeah, treat me like crap, do what you have to do, but I'm here. I'm going to do my best. I'm going to do what I can, So And luckily so she ended up being, she resigned after that year, my first year there at Cal. And then we had a second coach come in and I was able to start fresh. I was healthy. I earned a starting spot. I led the team in assists. I had it was night and day. It was wonderful. I'm so glad that I stuck it out. I'm so glad. It really was one of those points where it's like, you have to fight for you and you have to see it through. And I'm really glad I did.
Right. And stand in your light and stand in what's right.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I'm glad that you were okay. And then you made it through that with grace and class and a lot of fire and determination.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah, it was quite an ordeal. I'm glad I stuck it out.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. I know it's very personal and it's we just deep dive into your life, but I knew that it was an important part of your story and I didn't know that part of your story. So now, just moving on, like you own and ride a motorcycle, which is badass.
Thank you.
You've also you just took it upon yourself a couple of years ago. You decided you wanted to learn to play bass, and you taught yourself.
Yeah, is that true? I did. Yep. That one's been a pretty cool venture. I'm so grateful of the life that we get to live and the career paths that we have. I wouldn't have it any other way. Mm-hmm. That being said, I still think it's good to evolve within our craft. I think I think we can easily fall into a cycle of repetition of if you're doing the same gigs all the time or something, and we get in ruts too. I think and I think I was in a place where I was like, I wasn't challenging myself musically, and it was just there was something kind of just going on. I was like, you know what? And kid you not, I had this beautiful bass was gifted to me about 8 years ago. And it sat in my house collecting dust in a bag, and it just sat there. And I was like, I'd see it and I'm like, yeah, I really should, and I would play around. I love the drums too. I'm always involved, so I would always cycle between keys and drums and maybe kind of fiddle around the bass. And I just never clicked with one of those, and one day, so a lot of the gigs I've done in the past, and I still do some of them too, is just myself and a piano player or myself and a guitar player, really acoustic, really mellow vibe. And it just clicked to me one day, Terry. I was like, to stretch these gigs, sometimes they're 3-hour gigs or 4-hour gigs. And I would sing, sing the whole the whole form of the song. And then the piano player would play a solo and then I'd come back in. But the times that the piano player or guitar player is playing a solo, I'm just sitting there. Okay, maybe I'll have a shaker sometime but I'm just kind of like, do-do-do, or thinking of the next song, I'm just like, and I was like, what a perfect opportunity to bring this bass and just play one song at a time. And that's literally what I did. And it was a train wreck in the beginning, I tell you what, But I used it as a cool opportunity. So I brought my bass and I started with one song. And I'm singing and playing bass, mind you, on all these gigs. Yeah. So
I've seen you do that on stage. Yeah.
So I'm singing. So I'm at the same time. So I'm trying to play and I'm trying to sing. And a couple times it was really, really rough. And some of them I'm trying to read charts too. I'm making myself read these lead sheets at the same time. So it was just a cool challenge because now my brain is working overload, but it's in a really cool way. I'm like, oh man. Yeah. This is fun,
It's like it just kind of sparked. Doing all those extra, singing
absolutely.
And playing. Absolutely.
Yeah, so it was just it just kind of sparked a little fire in me again, and to just, and I just have such the utmost respect for you musicians. It's a whole nother world thinking that way and having this finesse and just having, the dynamics and reading music and all that. It's a whole nother world. But I truly respect you instrumentalist musicians because what y'all do to fine tune your craft is pretty incredible. So I feel like a little kid just dabbing into it now, but it's I truly honor and respect you all.
It's great to see you up there playing an instrument too. It's fun.
It
It's fun,
feels
and you
really
look like
good.
you're enjoying yourself too, which is
I am.
makes
I
it
was going
even
to say I'm
better.
good. I'm so glad I'm like it's connected with me. Like I wanted to, and I just like you got to spend some time with it. So I'm just glad that it finally is clicking for me a little bit more. Yeah.
I
Thank you.
also just saw a video or heard you sing something where you were singing in Spanish, and I know that you grew up in partly in Puerto Rico,
Yeah.
and you became bilingual at around the age of 3. So
Yep.
your mom spoke Spanish and English at home, so that or no?
No, no, not at all. It's so funny that people ask me all the time how we ended up in Puerto Rico, and we don't really know. I think my dad, um, I think I'm sure there's another backstory that I don't really know, but the story I was
Yeah.
told was that my dad has always been he's just always been this cool dreamer, just always searching for something new and just kind of moving. He's always been a free spirit.
hmm
And so I guess when I was 3, I was born in New York City. And when I was 3, there's a big Puerto Rican population there too. And we're also talking about now, my dad has always worked, he's retired now, but he has always worked in the food and beverage restaurant industry. He's always either been a bartender or he's always been a chef, cook, something like that, always. And so he had, I think he had a job in New York, and I think they had closed their doors or something had happened. So he's like looking in the classifieds. Do we remember what the classifieds are, ladies and gentlemen? It's like, so he was looking in the classifieds and he saw this, a restaurant was opening. They were looking for a chef, looking for a cook for this restaurant in Puerto Rico, of all places. And so my dad called them, gave him his resume, Then they offered him the job. And we moved out there and they ended up closing it like fell through. The job wasn't there anymore. And then it was just like, okay, well, so yeah, so he's always been a scrapper, and he and so he found another job, of course. But we lived there for like almost 5 years. So by the time I was 3,
but that's a really wwonderful part of your life to live in the Caribbean. Like 3 to 8 years old, or
definitely.
Myself having grown up in Miami, born and raised there, it's very similar way to grow up. You're by the water and the ocean and the sun and exercise. You're outdoors all the time, and
totally.
That's very cool that you got to experience that, and that your dad once again landed on his feet. To make it work for the family.
He always has. Absolutely. Absolutely. So yeah, we did that. And then, so I was fully bilingual by the time I was like 3. Kids are sponges at that age.
Yeah, right.
Then unfortunately, we moved to California. We moved to Northern California for 1 year. My parents had gotten divorced, and then my dad had remarried. And so I moved with my dad and my stepmom and my stepbrother to a place called Rio Vista, because he had joined the Coast Guard. And so we were in Rio Vista for 1 year. By that time, I'm like 7, 8, I'm about almost 8 or something like that. And no, we didn't speak Spanish. I mean, nobody spoke Spanish to me. So I lost it. By the time we moved to San Diego, I'd completely lost it. So as quickly as I learned it, I had lost it. But what's cool about that is I still can, I can still speak in Spanish with like somewhat of a proper dialect without, and even though if I don't know what I'm saying, I still sound like I do.
Right. Well, it's in your bones. Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's talk about music, and then we'll get back to more of the life things, which is fascinating to me because we've never really spoken much about anything but music together, or whatever beautiful place we're in when we're on a cruise together. Talk about what's in front of us. So, okay, the new single is called "Show Me," and here's the lyrics to the first verse, and so I want to unpeel this a little bit. We don't need to go too long on this, but it is even when you're next to me, you're so far away. I want to give you the best of me, but I can't make you stay. Head is spinning dizzy with infatuation. Pulse is beating. Guess my heart is one. First verse. The closing line of the song is, I can't let you go. So it sounds on paper like it's completely tortured. It doesn't sound tortured when you're singing it. But when I was really just getting into the song, I wanted to get into the story and see what it's about.
Yeah.
So what inspired you to write this song and release it as a single?
Yeah. Well, I consider myself somewhat observant, and I've also had a lot of these lyrics for many years in some books and stuff, and just the concept of relationships are really fascinating to me.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this point between when you meet someone and you feel like there's like a chemistry, and you don't know whether that person feels the same way about you. I wanted to talk about that middle point. It's not that, like that whole takeaway of like, yes, you're my love and here we are and this, or like, I hate you, you were on my life, like I wanted to kind of find that part that's in between, or there's
right,
still
the in between, the undefined,
the in between, and the undefined, and that scary moment, of like, because I think overall I've realized I didn't even do it on purpose, but my whole album is really songs that I think everyone can relate to, has been in some form or fashion. So it's relationship wise, it's about love, and there's some about loss. There is some love songs on the record, and so yeah, I'm just trying to find. I also grew. I'm also a kid of, quote unquote, of the 90s as far as like musically, right? And a lot of those, for me, I was always drawn to love songs. I was always drawn to like, almost to a fault. Like I would always be like, I got to do something to spin this. I didn't want to just do all the songs be like, I love you and you love me and we're happily ever after. I was trying to find ways of just like really just tweaking it somehow, and this song just came from that place of just like that interesting, all relationships end up being somewhere in that place. If before you even met your partner, you weren't sure if that was going to be your life partner. You weren't sure if that was going to and so that the song is just about that moment of right before, where you're like, I feel something for you. I hope you feel the same way. And if you don't, show me how to let this go, because, because I can't do it myself. So show me how to do it. So I just thought it was a really interesting concept.
It is a great concept. And clearly a lot of people are relating to the lyric, because the song is moving up the charts every week. And so that means people are connecting with it. I mean, it means you sound great and the band played great, but it's really, at the end of the day, it's about the story. It's the melody and if it's a vocal tune, the lyric, the story.
Yeah.
So people are connecting with that.
It's fun. It's fun to see that.
So when you met your husband, what was the in between like? Was that a long in between there too?
Sort of, because we had just met. No, I had just come home from college, and I went to go play basketball at this gym, and I had just got out of a really bad relationship. And so I wasn't searching, of course, at all. I just I was finally getting into my own space again. And the first day I go to this gym, I meet my husband, Rico, and we just had an instant connection, but nothing was like that kind at that level, because I wasn't looking and he wasn't looking, and he was just like, his vibe was so great though. And we just connected on a really like personal level of
that kind of clears the field though when nobody's looking.
True. Yeah. So we were kind of like, cool, I dig your vibe, you dig my vibe, you're not hitting on me, we're just here to have basketball and have fun, and just like, it was just a cool, and then I think we did that for a few months. Like we were like maybe like 4 or 5 months. We were just hanging and we were playing ball or, on a regular basis. And then one day I remember I was like, dang it, I kind of like him. And I'm like, well, it's this thing like, I don't want to ruin this. Like, what if we're like, am I the one that I'm, it was like literally the same, like kind of, where the song, kind of comes from is that place of like, I don't know if he feels the same way about me, but I feel like we have a really good energy. Like it was amazing energy. And it wasn't even like, that kind of tension, it was just like, wow, I just really, I like being around him. I like how he emotes. His vibe is just, it was really special. It still is really special. So yeah, it was so cool and then finally, he was along for it. Once I finally was like, we would meet after we play basketball, we would sit in his car all nasty from playing basketball, all sweaty and stuff. And we'd be sitting in his car and would talk for hours, and it was really therapeutic, I think, at that time, because I found out later he just got out of a really bad relationship too. So we both were kind of on that same page. So it was really therapeutic for us both. And then like one day it was like, I think he could see that like my energy was shifting, like my eyes weren't just like, yeah, my friend. I was like, this dude's kind of, I kind of like him.
Right. You were relaxing into it.
I was relaxing and it was just, and then one day, so finally, and he was just like, you want to talk and over drinks maybe next time instead of us being like in here, not in the car, all nasty. And that's kind of how it started. But yeah, at first it was really mellow, but that transition was interesting. It was really unique. It was beautiful.
Well, how many years have you been together now?
We've been
long time.
Married 17.
Yeah.
And almost together almost 20.
Mm-hmm.
So
beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Let's start with
Yay!
That's worth an applause. Absolutely. Man, love is a good thing.
It sure is.
Love is everything. Love is everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's talk about a couple of artists that we both love and who you've worked with. Let's start with Sheila E.
Yes.
So and you getting up there on stage and singing with Sheila and Lynn Mabry and just this wonderful group of people. How did that come about, and what was the first show like? Was it terrifying and fun and thrilling? And was it everything?
Everything, all the above. I got a chance to meet Sheila and Lynn actually on the first Dave Koz cruise that I did, which was 2016.
Oh, that's right. When we went to the Caribbean for that, right?
Yep. Yeah. And that was my first cruise ever.
Mm-hmm.
And second cruise. Sorry, I had just done like the Soul Train cruise like 2 weeks prior. Mm-hmm. So that was my first gig cruise ever. And then 2 weeks later, we do the Dave Koz cruise. Mm-hmm. And Sheila I don't think she was, she wasn't on the Soul Train. But no, she was on I think she was on the Soul Train. So I saw her twice, like within, and of course I'm just like brand new. I feel like I was like a deer in headlights sort of, with all this like really new experience, and we met, and that was about it. It was nothing after that. And then the following year, Sheila was one of the featured artists on Dave Koz's cruise also. Mm-hmm. And I remember, this part is so funny. Rico, my husband, is like, we laugh because I laugh at this now in hindsight, especially because, or even then, but I remember I was like, I kept on fumbling. I remember every time I'd see Sheila, I was like, I'd like bump into her, or I would it was all these like awkward,
literally. Yeah,
like
right,
like literally, yeah. It was just like all these like awkward, like for me, they were awkward. I'm like, What am I doing? I just felt like I was like everything just felt weird, like, and I was like, even told Rico, I was like, I don't think Sheila likes me, and I think I just keep it. I just had this like, and he's like, what are you talking about? I was like, I don't know. And this is the first year that they had done 2 1-week cruises, because the Caribbean was only 1 week. Yeah. The 2016, so 2017 that he had added a second week. So we get through the first week, and halfway through, I had already talked to Rico on the phone or something like that, because he wasn't there for that. But then he was like, "Calm, like just relax, just enjoy yourself." I'm like, "I know, okay, it's fine." And then like the next day, Sheila comes up to me, and then it was again another awkward moment. Like she leaned in to talk to me, and I thought she was coming in to hug me. So have you ever done that weird like interaction? So she's like leaning in. I was like, "Hey," and I was like, "Oh shoot, she's not hugging me. Oh well, here we go. I'm doing it anyway." So she's like, "Hey, yeah."
Right.
So again, like it was like those kind of things that were happening. I felt like all the time, even though it wasn't. But she was leaning in because she said, "Hey, I wanted to see if you would be willing to fill in on a couple dates. I have two singers, and one can't do 2 shows, and the other one can't do 2 shows. So I have 4 shows. I'd like for you to fill in if you're available." And I was like, "Oh, yeah." I wasn't expecting that, so I was just like, definitely. Like, send me the dates, and and it was just a cool experience. So I did those 4 dates, and then next thing you know, they just kept sending me dates, and 2017,
Still
and then
doing it.
2018, 2019, and so it was, and then COVID happened, unfortunately, and whatnot. And but that, I mean, like, I'm just so grateful. That was such a cool experience, and even how I got to be, to join her, for so many years, has been really, really special. So.
That's such a perfect way for that to happen, because it's just organic and natural, and
Totally.
And it's one of the beauties of, being on a cruise like that.
Yeah.
When we did 3 years in a row of being artists on the shows too, and
Nice.
it's so organic. First of all, there's so many people there that you do know, from over the years, that you finally get to like see again and spend some
Totally.
time with, and break some bread, and
Yeah.
jump up on stage with each other. But also it allows the opportunity just for things very naturally to happen like that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, and that ended up leading to the Let's Go Crazy salute to Prince too.
Yeah.
You did
Yep.
that with Sheila, and that was an awesome performance and show. I mean,
It was
high energy, and
incredible
it
to be
looked
a part
like
of that.
it looked like it was really fun and
Yeah.
heartfelt.
Yeah.
Off clearly.
Yes.
Certainly
It's
for
really
Sheila,
amazing.
but a lot of the other people in the band
Yeah.
having personal connection with Prince, and
Yeah.
then so then Elton John,
Yeah.
come on.
That was incredible too. So that came from Lynn Mabry, actually. So we were, she had actually recorded one of the songs for the movie, the Elton John movie that came out. And so when they were doing the Oscars, they had asked the singers who sang on the record, which was Lynn and a couple other ladies, to do the live show with Sir Elton John. And the one of the 3 singers couldn't do it, and Lynn recommended me to join them for
sweet.
this. And I'm like, I just so appreciate that, that she thought of me, and to join them. And so that was an amazing experience. The Oscars was a trip because we just did the one song, and it was over the course of 5 days that we had to be part of the, just for our
Pre-production
one
and-
thing.
yeah,
So
right.
I can't even imagine for folks that do, multiple things. And
Right.
I mean, we did one song, 5 days of something, studio stuff, rehearsals, band
Camera
rehearsal,
blocking,
dancing, camera blocking, learning. It was pretty intense, but it was really, really cool. Really,
It was
really cool.
great to see you up there doing that. We got a
Thank
kick out of it
you.
watching you here.
Yeah.
I want to open up to the audience right now. We've got a
Cool.
couple of musicians, fellow artists in the audience, if anybody wants to jump in and ask questions. And I know that Lisa always has great questions, and she's going to want to ask you
Nice.
something too. And then we'll get back to some other questions I have before closing. So,
Cool.
Lisa, hi, welcome to the show. You still with us?
Hello. Oh my God. Okay. This isn't even in the category where I can go, "Oh, Terry, I think this might be my new favorite show." It's not even, I can't even put this in the category, because it's literally like having my younger sister or niece or some family member who's on your show. So
Yes.
Yeah, because of that, I can't even put this in it can be the best show ever, 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 because it's Rebecca.
Oh,
my God. So question. So, we've got so many stories and so many things we can share. Terry, I have one of her Sheila E stories because I was landing in Chicago and was heading to my car in the parking lot at O'Hare, and I get this phone call and it's Rebecca.
Yep.
And her flight got canceled or delayed or something trying to get to Halifax. I think it was with Sheila.
Yeah.
She was like, can you pick me up? So I literally drove back around the airport, picked her up, and we went to dinner. She stayed at my house and she caught a flight at some ungodly hour in the morning.
Yep. So, and still ended up missing the dang show.
You did?
Yeah, every plane that could be delayed or
every single
canceled.
Plane. It was not the business. But Lisa and I got to hang out. We had some great food. We got to just hang. It was we did. It was just a special, like a cool experience out of such a terrible overall experience. Like that made it such a special time that we were able to hang.
We've had a couple that I'll never forget. You in the hallway on your first cruise after coming off of the Soul Train cruise.
Right.
I remember sitting in the hall, and it wasn't frantic, but it was sort of like, I can't believe I'm here. That kind of thing.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Believe it. No, I just think you have an incredible gift.
Thank you.
Have the best personality. Like, this could not be happening to a better person at the better time. I love you and Rico.
I love you too.
Like you're just family. And so my question for you is, what was the day where you sit down and go, I'm living my dream right now.
Yeah.
I'm living the dream. Like, everything that I thought could happen for me or that I wanted for myself, I'm actually living in it. And every day, how do you just keep that new? Because it's always new for you. And that's, I think, what's so special.
God, that's a wonderful question, Lisa.
And also, before you answer that, it's also a really interesting question that you would ask that, Lisa, because you've had the same experience yourself as an actor, an artist. You have achieved those moments.
I'm having a bad life.
So, but I'm curious too. I'm curious. So,
I'll let Rebecca go first.
Yeah, I think it came, honestly, kind of recently. It was when Dave Koz asked me to join him for his Christmas tour.
Yeah.
I think that was the one where it's like kind of just really was like, it's one thing to be asked, because I was initially part of the Dave Koz cruise as, the party band,
right.
One of the singers in the party band. Like, that was initially how I was even brought in. And I just worked my way, I just been kind of just being there and just being present and trying to do my best, showing up and just being and learning and just and, I'm sure Dave at the end of the day, he's just like, cool. He didn't know me and he just was like, cool. Hey, if you recommend her, cool. And like, we're in this together. And then we've gotten to know each other over the years. And I love him so much. And for him to personally call me and say, I want you to join me on my Christmas tour.
Right. To choose.
There was something to choose me. There was something different about that. That just like, I was like, I like came into the room and like I screamed. I was like a little kid with Rico. I was like, Rico, guess what? Dave Koz is coming. I was like, it just was. That was just enough of the little click, the little switch, if that makes any sense, of where I was like, I'm gonna be able to be traveling and just like there was just something about that it was different. It was different. And I think that was the one. And I always try to have a, not childish, but childlike observation of everything. I try to just have a wonder about everything as much as possible. And I think that's what keeps things for me in a way like that fresh that you're talking about, and you should never know everything. You should never just, I'd rather err on the side of without being taken advantage of, which is doable, which is possible too. But like finding that fine line of having that wonder of a child, but also being strong and knowing who you are. That balance, I think, is what I think keeps me through.
Not being naive about it. You still have
right.
Melanie just joined us on stage also.
Hi, Melanie.
Hey, Melanie. Another person that I'm adopting. But something else you said, Rebecca, that I think everybody can learn from, and it's that willingness and desire to experiment and broaden your opportunities and experience and learn. I mean, to decide to pick up and learn the bass. You know, I mean, a lot of people just get in a rut. It's comfortable and they don't know that they're getting in a rut. It's not intentional, but it's like, I'm a vocalist. That's what I am. That's what I do. And they don't explore some other things that just challenge your creativity.
Totally. And it challenges your creativity and expands your mind that way. Now, the singing is going to be more meaningful. It's more meaningful to me now that I know that the bass, it's just a different connection that I have with knowing how the bass supports my notes, you know, along with all the other instrumentation. It's just another appreciation that, like, the attitude of gratitude is everything to me.
And everything that you're saying right now is why I chose the words "your winning attitude" when I wrote your intro, because it really, you do bring that. There's a childlike wonder. There's the showing up and not only just doing what you were asked to do, but doing more.
Yeah.
You know, being of service to the song, to the people around you, to the audience, to the music, to the lyric, with a great attitude too.
Thank you.
So hey, Melanie, do you have something you'd like to join in on?
Hey, Rebecca.
Hey.
Can y'all hear me? I guess I'm not muted. Well, I'm enjoying hearing you tell your story and learning a little more about you and about what makes you tick and about where you've been and where you're going.
Thank you.
You and I you're welcome. You and I actually met standing next to each other on that cruise ship singing. I don't know if you remember that or not.
I do.
I remember meeting you and feeling the same way as Terry, that you such a beautiful spirit and obviously a great talent, and you were just so open and willing to just dive in and just have fun. And it was just a pleasure to sing with you. I haven't had the pleasure of singing with you since then, but I remember that time.
Change that.
Well, that would be great. Yeah, that would be great. So I'm just happy for you and everything that you've created for yourself.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. So since I met you, I became a creative coach and got certified to teach yoga. Actually, that was before I met you. But my question that I always ask my students and my coachees is, as an artist and as a woman in this business especially, and in your life, what would you like to cultivate more of, and what would you like to let go of?
Oh, that's a really good question.
That's what I want to know.
I know.
I'm going to mute myself and listen.
Thanks, Melanie.
That's a really great question. What would I like to cultivate more of, and let go of, as a woman and as an artist? You know, I would love to continue. You know, I think we still need. You know, we talked a little bit about in the beginning of you know, the idea in my head. The idea was you had to be a superstar, or there was no in between, right? I think that was another realization for me that, you know, that came quite a few years back. I was like, oh, I have a mentor. His name's Kamal Kenyatta. He's amazing. And he really helped open my eyes. And I was like in my early 20s, and he was just like, you can do this. Like, you can make a living doing music, you know? And he really helped me open my eyes. But it took those kind of mentors. I think we need more of those now that I'm saying it out loud. I was going to say something else, but I think we need that. So I think I want to help cultivate more mentorship for like up and coming artists, people that, you know, because Kamal was and continues to be this wonderful element that was in my life. I could just see he was really pivotal for me. You know, it helped me believe in myself before I believed in myself. And I think we need more of that. And I also think we need more you know, more venues, more places for people to be able to perform, and you know, maybe not coffee shop, but somewhere in between. And then there's a big showrooms. There aren't really nice like places in between there where people can. We need more venues, I guess, is
We
what I'm
sure
trying to
do.
say.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that makes sense. I think we need to cultivate more mentors and more venues. Reasonably sized venues, nothing too small, nothing too big. That can help generate income for artists, and then let go of. What do I want to let go of?
It could be releasing yourself from certain ways of thinking. It could be
Absolutely.
releasing yourself from ideas about yourself. It could be
Yeah.
anything. And I don't like to plant too many seeds.
Sure,
but
sure.
I know you know what I mean.
I do. I want to let go of the idea that everything has to be perfect. I've had
Nice.
to really work on that. I'm still working on that because there is perfection in the imperfection, and it's more in. I'm learning that. I have to keep telling this to myself because sometimes I draw things out because it's not perfect, or it's tight. Like this album took so long to come out with because it wasn't perfect. It ended up not being perfect anyway. but I had a deadline, and I had to accept that it was like, okay, I have a deadline, and it has to be done by this time, whether it's perfect or not. Yada yada yada. And so I think there's a sense of me wanting everything to look presentable, be perfect, and I've had to learn a lot of times the hard way that that's not realistic, and so you can get stuck, you can get hung up on things if you wait till it's going to be perfect. And Jon Stewart, I remember hearing him, he's a fantastic comedian. For many years he was a comedian. Now he does more like politics and stuff, but when he was back during being a comedian, he talked about write it down. Like my jokes, he says, my jokes are always evolving. I'll start with it here, here's joke A, and it's never the final product. It's like, it's always evolving. So I've had to go, oh, okay, or if you're writing a book, anything like that, you have to just get the pages, get the words down. You can always edit it later. I think Lisa, we talked about that. Lisa helped me do I did my first speaking engagement like a couple years back, and I hired Lisa. I was like, Lisa, help me sound, and it was just, it
Good
was
choice.
that experience of like, yeah, absolutely. And it was like, I think we kind of talked about that a little bit too. It's like, just get your story down. We'll fine tune it later, but like get it down. And it just, that element of not being perfect, I think I have to, I think a lot of us probably have to let go of that because it'll never be perfect. But people appreciate authenticity. So I'd rather be authentic than be perfect. So I'm trying to do better with that.
Yeah. And also for me, what I've learned to do is redefine the idea of perfection.
Yeah.
Because the beautiful imperfections are really part of what makes everything so beautifully perfect.
Yeah. Definitely.
When you allow that to be part of the story, part of the record, part of the performance, part of the conversation, part of the relationship, part of the journey.
Yep. That in and of itself is the perfection.
Right.
Is the joining of that, or whatever, the process going through it, the imperfectionism of that, or the journey through that is what's meant to be, I think.
And the striving for
for
this idea of perfection, but allowing it to not be less, just for it to be perhaps a little bit different.
Yeah. 100%.
Thanks for your answer.
Yeah, thank you
thanks
for that
the
question.
Dr. Lisa, is there anybody else in the audience before I get to closing questions?
I do not see anyone else.
Okay.
with their hand up.
Now would be your chance. But so I'll continue on right now. So let me ask my 3 closing questions that I ask all of my guests, and then we'll turn it over to you for any closing thoughts. And as I promised you, we were never going to get through all of my questions.
Right.
Including talking about your real estate license, which I just think is fantastic. That again, that's like, you're not just going down this one path. Your heart and your mind, you're open to more, to being other things, and one thing just doesn't completely define who you are.
Right.
My first question of the three that I ask everybody is, since this show's called Making It,
Yeah.
what does making it mean to you, both personally and professionally?
Making it is, I would say, start out professionally. Again, like I mentioned before, my idea of what making it was has completely evolved. The fact that I get to do music, for a living. I've been able to do this for, I started professionally in 2002. I started being able to do music for a living since 2007. So being able to pull it off for that long,
It's
just by
impressive.
just by hustle and just, it has really been, I do not take it for granted at all. And so I would say making it to me is being able to pay my bills, pull my weight, so to speak, doing the thing that I love. And that to me is making it, and striving for more, of course. I feel, and not settling. I think that's also making it. I think maybe that's more on the personal side. I would say not settling for just whatever, I think making it that I was able to pivot. Like I said, the basketball thing was actually was kind of the direction I was going, because it was what was really, was pulling my heart at the time. And so when that door kind of closed, you had to pivot. You had to, so being able to pivot and go full-fledged into this music thing, that to me personally, is the act of pivoting and moving towards, this new, this path that ended up being my calling anyway. Is but I'm able to take these sports things. I still, these sports analogies and the things we learn, teamwork and all those things, will always be a part of my life, no matter what. So I love that the sports has been integrated into my being, and that flows into the music all the time. So I would say that.
That reminds me that there's also a really wonderful song that you wrote. I believe you wrote it, called "What's It Gonna Be." You've got a video on it that's got over 126,000 views, and it's which is fantastic as well. But it's a visual homage to your hometown of San Diego, or where you
Yes.
live, and also your lifelong love of basketball. And it's a
Yeah.
cool song, so
Yeah.
it's really kind of fun. So everybody can go check that out as well, because you get to see you singing
Yep.
and being in your basketball world too.
Yep.
It's
Yep.
fun video, really
Thank
fun.
you.
Can you share 3 tips for success that have driven your career?
3 tips for success. Yes. Um, well, I would say, and I always look at this quote because it really has helped me. I think having some sort of a mantra or something that just rings true to you when there are times, because we'll all have times that we second guess ourselves. At least I'm certain I'm not the only one, but I have had lots of times where this music thing, even though I love it so much, there's been times where I'm just like, it's too much, or am I like, what am I doing? I've had a lot of these self-doubt moments throughout my life, and in this career. And I have to go, no. Many of life's failures are people who did not realize how close they were to success when they gave up. And I have just used that saying has kept me going through many, many years, when I would just be like, what am I doing? Or, I live in San Diego. I love living here in San Diego. Am I supposed to move to LA? I'd be like, nope, just stay the course. You're doing what you're supposed to do. So I had to always, talk myself back up. I had to talk myself out of this, out of the hole, but so I would suggest anybody that can, if you can find a mantra or a quote or something, a Bible verse, whatever it is that resonates with you, I think, use that to fuel you again, I think honestly, again, and it's kind of maybe in a similar way, is having a mentor. I didn't realize how important he was to my success. And not everybody needs it. That I think was just what worked for me. I think having that person, who he saw past what I saw. I can only see what I know, right? You only see what you know. And this is somebody who has been in the music industry for a longer time than I have. So he can see past my vision for myself, because he's like, he sees all the other artists that are in town. He sees that I can not compete, but I can, I can hang with them,
Right.
and
Right. You can, they're your peers. You
they're
can
my
stand in
peers.
greatness
Yeah.
with them.
I can
Yeah.
stand in greatness with them. Exactly. It's a beautiful way to say that. And so sometimes it takes somebody else. Maybe it's not a mentor, but maybe it's just somebody that's in your corner who can just help you see past yourself, if that's an issue for you, which I know was for me, and continues to be. Sometimes I need that reassurance to keep going. And the third thing is, it's a good question. Oh, I'll tell you what it is. I think it's important for people to have another outlet. People use music, right? I think a lot of people who aren't artists or musicians, they have music is their outlet. Well, what's our outlet as artists, right? So that's where, again, basketball has come into play for me, because I can disconnect from music. I can go, I need to not listen to this. I need to not work on this. I just need to go play. I need to sweat. I need to whatever. I need to go throw some elbows right now and get some frustration out. And then I can come back, and I'm like, I got that out of my system. And now I can come back in a way refreshed, even though I'm tired. It's a different refreshment in my mind, of my body, my soul, my spirit. So I would encourage folks to have another outlet where you can disconnect from that thing, whatever that is that you are in. You shouldn't be into something 24/7. You still need to have something where you can disconnect your brain, even if it's for a day, an hour a week, whatever it is for you. I play in a women's basketball league on Tuesday nights. I have a game tonight, so, and I'm excited about it, so it's like, I'm looking forward to that, seeing my friends playing basketball, sweating. And then I go, yes, now back to singing,
Right,
so those would be my three things.
Great tips. Fantastic.
Thank you.
My closing question, at this point of your life, with everything that you know to be true, what would you tell your younger self?
Stay the course. Don't be too hard on yourself. Don't be perfect. And just enjoy the journey. I think that's where I wish if I could look back, that would be the things I would say. Like, just stay the course. You're in your destiny anyway. I feel like this is my destiny. And I look back and I go, I just question myself so much along the way, whether I am or not. Like, I think our destiny is just what is where we're living. And that's where, the things that come up in our lives they all help enhance us for our bigger goals in life, our bigger selves, our growth, all those things. So continue just to enjoy the journey, and just go with the flow, and just you're doing all right, kid. I think that's what I would tell myself.
You are doing all right, kid. I agree. Any closing thoughts? Anything on your heart and mind that you'd like to share?
Gosh, I hope that if anybody's listening to this that is not an artist, and I don't even know why I'm saying this. Maybe it's just for somebody who needs to hear this, because it's just what's at the front of my mind right now. I distinctly remember I had a friend of mine. I met his wife or something, like it was his wife at the time, and I was like, hey, thank you. She came to a show. That's what it was. They came to a show, and I had just met her for the first time. And I was like, hey, I was just trying to, chat with her and just make her feel welcome, and, just show her love. And she was very kind. But I just remember, I said, yeah, so what do you do? She came to my show. She sees I'm a performer, and she was like, oh, I'm just and whatever she said after that. I think it was something like I'm just a dental, I think it was something dental, like something in medical field or something like that. And that was many years ago. And that idea, I promise you, I'm gonna write a song about this, because it's something that stuck with me. I want people to never feel like somehow artists are better than you. we're not. We just that's our path. But never bring yourself down in any way, in any comparison. Like, we need you. We all need each other. This is, all of us are part of this. We're in this together, so I need I need somebody to work on my teeth. I need somebody to, when we go into restaurants and go have dinner, and like we're all a part of this together. And there's so many people who listen to music and they love music, and that's our contribution to the world. It's all of us together. And there's something about that idea. So I just hope that if anybody hears, I don't know if maybe I'm just rambling at this point, but the point is, I just want everybody to feel like we're all special. We all bring something to the table, and to never diminish yourself because you think you're less than somebody else, in any capacity. I think we all bring something to the table. That's all. That's my final thought.
Thank you for saying that. I hear you. Yeah. And it's really beautiful that you shared that. So thank you for that. I want to thank our live audience members for joining the conversation and for just being in the audience with us. We see you and we hear you and we appreciate you. To all of our listeners who listen every week on streaming at your leisure, we appreciate you as well. I want to thank Dr. Lisa for moderating again today. It's always a pleasure. And Rebecca, Jade, you're a gem. Thank you for sharing your story with such openness and honesty and clarity. I really appreciate that. The new single is called Show Me.
Yeah.
And my new single is What Is Hip?
Yeah.
The remake of the Tower Power song. And please go, if you haven't already done this, go to Rebecca's Spotify page and subscribe. Go to mine, subscribe. And it's so easy to support recorded music, and that's how we keep making that happen for you. So congratulations on the new song. It's really just wonderful.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And same to you. And, let's just keep on elevating and just keep at it. Let's just keep at it. Yeah. Thank you for having me, Terry. I appreciate you. Thank you.
My absolute pleasure, Rebecca. Thank you. I look forward to seeing you again.
Likewise.
Thank you, everybody. Stay safe and stay inspired, and we'll see you next week.
Yay.
Tune in again next week for another great episode of Making It with Terry Woolman.